Welcome guys to an episode of ULTRAKILL. Today we'll be talking about V2 being, is he a good boss fight? And spoiler this, yeah. But honestly, what I love with this, I do not like these pillars, okay? I mean, I would destroy them because they kind of obstruct from the boss fights. Because if it's an open playing field, it's probably really nice. I mean, if you look at it, I can probably, he has more free range and you can feel the speed around him. It's also V2. It's probably the D. I put 3 does and call it D's, and he died to the saw blade trap, which is amazing, by the way. Wait, honestly, no, who cares? I'm gonna talk about him right here now. I'm too lazy to edit this video. So V2's boss fight is probably the most, as I said, triple D's fastest, like the most fast-paced boss fight, because he loses health like a lot in the boss fight, and he dies in like 50 seconds, and he loses his arm, which is the second best arm behind the whiplash. Of course, I'm not gonna say the feedback is better. The feedback and knuckle blast is equally the similar strength. It's just that whiplash is totally better. I mean, movement weapons are just overly comparably better compared to other weapons. I mean, boss fight wise, it's a simple boss fight, but it's also difficult. I was about to say, oh my god, it's so simple, it sucks, it's just you, it's not good enough, and I was like, oh, and then I played it again, I was like, oh, actually, it's actually quite good. Because because I came in back here without any knowledge again, because I haven't played ULTRAKILL for 3 days, and also I tried to make a video and I failed, and the multiple clips I realized to talk about the boss fight in general, so probably that. At the same time, V2's boss fight should probably have more weapons. I'm gonna be very honest, I just feel like Act 1 doesn't really need the weapons that Act 2 has. Probably give it like more shotguns. I think maybe a chainsaw. Maybe a chainsaw. Sharpshooter could be added here because why not, honestly. That's my own complaints. I feel like it should have more weapons in this scenario to make it more difficult. But I can understand why it's not here. It's a skill. It's your first skill check level. I don't think Hakita wants you to die in your first skill check level. I mean, this is ULTRAKILL must die, but well, to be honest, that's highly expected. And as you can see here, I'm ass. Anyhow, so I didn't really talk about the lore or the writing of V2, but that's gonna be the next clip. So actually, I should talk about modern game mechanics. The boss fight has a lot of parryable. I think V2 has the most parryable attacks in Act 1, Act 2. Okay, I mean Act 2, and it has 2 non-parryable attacks, but that makes sense. Probably 3 if you count the coin stuff, but you can dodge it and probably parry it or fist coin it to his face because it's hilarious. Anyhow, so game fight wise, I gotta say V2 is actually quite good, but not the best. I feel like Sisyphus, the prime boss, of course, are the better ones. But Gabriel is not there. I mean, unless you talk Act 1. Act 1 I can definitely see why. I can see why, honestly. But V2's Act 1 fight is the simple one and probably the easier one. That's really normal, actually. So I gotta say, the boss fight in general it's alright. It's alright. Anyhow, on to the next clip. Anyhow, instead of fighting him, I'm going to be talking about his lore. V2's lore will be found, of course, right here. And he's a Supreme Machine. Whoa, so surprised I don't give a damn anyways. So of course, the V models were built for war, with V1 boasting a new kind of exterior plating that allow feel to combat with. Okay, this one talks about V1. This mentions about the war, but fun fact, V1 was built during the end of the war year war, 200-year war, because the game mentions it to us, and we know the date when it was built. But V2 is well. Wait, the first half just talks about us. Okay, this starting to talk about. Okay, so the reason why is because the reason why V1 didn't go to full off manufacturer mode, because you know the new piece was established and war became irrelevant, just like my YouTube channel. V1 plant production was cancelled. To be fair, we could have gotten a cool name other than V1, but V1's a cool name. V1's a cool name. Okay, update the model. V2 was developed, so blah blah blah. You know, with standardized plating, you know, that's why it's thicker. Durability and then blah blah blah. I don't care. Its law is basically basically V2 was created during the peacetime era to be to security drone, a much more advanced version of it with much more better plating. And with the cost that, unlike V1, he can't really, you know, refuel on the spot, but he got a cool sick arm. But the thing was that V2, like us, didn't reach mass production because V2, well, didn't really want to be bought because one, it's expensive, and also because at the end of the war they completely dried out any demands, and there's only one in existence. Yeah, this is normal. To be exact, the strategy for myself is just to beat him up and then parry him to death. That's how I do it. I mean, I just put saw blade traps and he just falls in there for some reason. I honestly have no idea how. I thought V2 was so smart as us, but apparently not. But also, during the war times, okay, V2 hasn't got a new arm compared to us. Our arm is fast, but like V2's one, since it has heavier plating, is just more heavy, and also he has a shotgun thing, a shotgun air blast, which is cool. Alright, let's talk about the level design, because lore wise there's not a lot of things I know about V2, but level wise, did you know that I got jump scared by this? Because if you don't know, V2 would just jump out of here, collect all the skull stuff, but you don't have to, because you know we just go through that and do that. Anyway, let's look up his theme song. The theme song is really good, honestly, but not as quite as good compared to Do. I actually like Do. It's actually part of my top 10. Reverses, it's not part of my top 10, but it's probably up to top 20 because you know it's repetitive. Because honestly, you know, what'd be funny? I feel like the repetitiveness was because you know you're gonna die a lot because it's skill check. But I kind of like to see that. You know, that stuff. Can you not kill me? Thank you. And also, so young man, come back here! I'm gonna kill you this instant. You know, screw it. You're not gonna get guns. You're not gonna get punched. Okay, can you remove it? You know, screw. You're getting weapons. What? I hit that apparently. Wait, I can do that. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Ah! And you know what? Its theme song being repetitive. I don't know why. Honestly, if a composer can tell me why V2's good, or ULTRAKILL can tell me why, you can just explain to me. I might rewatch the video again so I can understand it better. So that's it for this clip. I did die once, but I did talk about the lore. I didn't talk much about the theme song or the level design, but I was like a jump scare by this level. Anyhow, so the lore is as simple. The basis is basically V2 was created at the V1 because they needed to, you know, sell products, and they failed because they don't want to buy that guy. Who wants to, honestly, who wants to buy like an expensive war machine? And that's why V2 was only made once, just like V1, because they couldn't mass produce it. And because they were broke. Probably a good thing, because if there was multiple V2s, I'll hate it. You know, that's it for the first half of this video. And then this clip. I'll see you all soon. I'm ass. You know, on to the next clip. And yeah, after further analysis, I just watched a YouTube video, by the way. You know, why not, honestly? Because I think V2's song theme is repetitive, number one. As I agree with the the YouTube videos because we are gonna die a lot to this boss fight because, you know, why not, honestly. And also because of memorability, honestly. But I think there's also one thing. It's probably like a sidetrack thing, probably I didn't intend this, but I feel like it's the repetition of war. The fact that we are fighting our new version, and the law of ULTRAKILL is that machines are fighting, well, old machines are fighting new machines, and the machines, the cycle over Boros and stuff, kinda makes versus much more deeper because, you know, yeah, you know, you're fighting your new version and kicking his ass. So I think the hidden meaning for me is just the fact that we're fighting like a newer version of ourselves. So technically, we are continuing the Ouroboros. While the Earth Movers team is more like an infiltration. I can't English. Like we're infiltrating. I can't speak anymore, man. Infiltrating the Earth Mover. V2 feels like we're fighting history. We're breaking like the repetition of cycles of war and machines being better than another machine. Maybe that's why V2 came to fight us. Maybe that's why. Maybe he was overconfident. Maybe he was in a state of ecstasy, of limbo. He didn't know what to do. He's in a state of, well, it's programming and it trying to fight us because, you know, it tries to protect humanity and we're trying to destroy humanity. But who knows V2, honestly. Maybe that's his fighting. Maybe that's what makes his fighting. Oh god, that makes it kind of deep. V2 came in here to probably stop us, to kill everything. And Limbo is a state of death and, well, alive. So what if V2, the reason why we're fighting V2 is because, well, in a way, we're fighting a war that's kind of dead and alive because we're fighting in a war for blood. V2 is fighting us for blood. It's following its programming of fighting other machines for blood and for war. I mean, V2 didn't probably have that programming within it, but it'd be interesting if V2 also had that programming because, you know, it's based off V1. And the theme song being repetitive is probably Hakita's way to say, oh my god, you're going to remember this skill check. But for me, I think it's probably much more deeper now because, you know, the repetition of endless war cycle and the endless battle of newer generations, older generations. But I don't think Hakita think of that, honestly. But headcanons exist for a reason. I think Hakita did this because he wanted us to remember it and because, you know, we're finding this a lot, so that's why it's kind of repetitive. But also, for me, it's probably because, you know, endless war stuff, blah blah blah. I don't think Hakita planned this at all. Anyhow, that's all for V2 Act 1. I talked about his gameplay, his lore and things, and also some bit of a writing, because V2 doesn't have a lot of writing compared. It has a build up in this level. I'm not gonna show it because, you know, I don't want to collect skulls, okay? But if you want me to, I guess I can. On to the next. Anyhow, so I'm gonna talk about his build up. So his build up is basically only if you were to actually do some snooping around here. Also, look, Gabriel build up. So if you grab a skull and you do this, you get to see him. Yep, that's his build up. Also, you don't really need the skull. You can just do that. Easy as that. Anyhow, you're gonna see a cheese. Honestly, V2 being cheesed that way, and he already lost a quarter himself. Hi, good sir, would you like to die? Aw, would you like to die? Easy spearing, by the way. And that's really about it for V2, and on to Act 2. Easy spearing. Anyhow, so before we go to Act 2's, you know, fight, we gotta talk about his lore first, because, you know, why not? Why am I in the weapon stuff? Give me back. There we are. V2 Act. Second 2. Okay, after his defeat, V2 dove deep in hell, killing a bunch of machines for below to, you know, aid his recovery, intent to, you know, take revenge on us, as well in greed, because, you know, in writing wise, V2 being in greed probably makes a lot of sense, because he's kind of lusting to kill us, lusting for revenge, you know, revenge, greedy for kills. Ow. And, you know, after finding some temporary punishment from his you know, nerd victims, you know, blah 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 blah, to catch, they basically make the whiplash to catch up with us, which is hilarious. Imagine not being being able to catch up with us. What a nerd. In order to prepare for the second final encounter, they search for combat data. Yep, as I predicted, it also searched combat data of us to get an upper hand of the older and more experienced V1. Of course, he loses again, because, you know, how are we not alive? And you know what I like about this boss, actually? The boss color scheme beforehand was all red, but this time, I'm on my mind flag, this time is green. And in color theory, the opposite of green is red, which is interesting. Anyhow, that's all about the lore. Let's go to the actual theme song. The theme song about Duel is actually quite good. It's less repetitive and much more finalized compared to, you know, V2's, you know, versus. Duel is much more complete because, you know, you get to murder him as per usual. So the build up for it is actually quite nice, I guess, because the theme song, you know, has some miniature layer motifs of us, and we get to murder him and stuff. I mean, the only thing I might be complaining is that he doesn't. He just shoots coins and doesn't whiplash us at all, which he does have to whiplash to catch up with us. So why doesn't that use it, Hakita? Come on, Hakita, come on, man. And you can die. Anyhow, so V2 Act 2 boss fight is not really that intriguing until the pyramid slide, which is the coolest thing known to man. Also, you can do this while you're hitting. So come on, come back here, come back here. Oh, why you hitting? Hey, why you hit? Yeah. Ah, god damn it. Okay, you know what? Why are you hitting yourself? And oh, you're not angry anymore? Totally believe the big crap out of him. You know, to be exact, I think his boss fight is quite cool. Honestly, it's just a better version of Act 1 V2, which is quite a nice addition. But I feel like out of everything, Akira probably could have added more whiplash. I think he did. It's just that it's not really notable in this boss fight. I feel like ULTRAKILL style would probably add more of it. Probably it would be funny if V2 can have like a secret thing where he can just whiplash the rubble and throw at you, or interact with the environment a bit. Be funny, but probably not a good idea. At the same time, I feel like V2's second boss fight is quite good. Good boss fight, good theme song. The theme song do is fool because you get to murder him. The reason why he's greedy because he wants his revenge, and that's kind of greedy. V2, you know, he is a wimpy cry baby. He cannot handle a single loss. Hi, good sir. Anyhow, this is a good demonstration of whiplash, by the way. And whiplash is a great that's it. On to the next clip. Anyhow, there's not really a lot of things to talk about other than the gameplay, because the gameplay wise, V2 Act 2 is just similar to V2 Act 1. It's not really that notable compared to, you know, Sisyphus, other things. I mean, every single boss fight is not really that notable. It's just some fast dude clapping you in the face or slapping you in the face. But also, this also gives us some build up to the prime boss, which is yeah, kind of gigantic. But also, you get a saw blade and you get a close look to this big hunk of a man. And also Gabriel. Another Gabriel foreshadowing. I mean, it's not really Gabriel foreshadowing, it's more like Gabriel lore. Gabriel kind of killed all the prime bosses before they were prime souls, so yeah. It's kind of awkward to think about it. So gameplay wise, V2's stuff, as you can see here, because fun fact, if you didn't know, V2 Act 1 actually, I mean, can actually shoot you coins, but V2 Act 2 is the only V2 that actually generally will proactively shoot you coins in your face. And that's why people are kind of mad at him, because, you know, they shoot your coin. And he's gonna fall in the saw blade trap. What a nerd. Seriously, like, what a nerd. Come on, dude. Come on, man. Come on. Oh, you're still alive? I'm just standing still and you still die. I cannot understand this machine. I know I'm not supposed to call people machine, but this guy is just weird. He falls into saw blade traps like a complete and utter idiot. And he gets mad when I punch his own arm. You know what? Chainsaw. Easy peasy P rank. Anyhow, so I think V2's boss fight. I mean, yeah, I don't really talk about his theme song, but honestly, compared to the other theme song, I don't think it's a cool name, because, you know, you're dueling him one last time. So basically, it's a duel. Haha, get the pun. Yeah, I'm so funny right now, haha. And also easy P rank. Alright, this is not really the outro yet, I'll be very honest. So this is gonna be a miniature thing. I'm gonna talk about duel is not a very writing wise, duel is not really that great of a written song, but narratively you could tell you're fighting some random dude, you're fighting your own rival, you know, because duel sounds like you're fighting one last time, you're dueling to the death, you know, the duel of fates, I guess. But V2 writing wise in Act 2 is probably stronger within Act 1, because V2 in this act has a motive. Well, V2 in Act 1 probably has a motive of a child just wanting to tell you, I'm better than you, I'm gonna get all the blood come back to you. The V2 Act 2 is out for blood, okay? He's well prepared and he still gets his butt kicked by some balloon Nikon, okay? Everyone gets the ass kicked by the balloon Nikon, I guess. So V2 loses to V1 again because he's a nerd. And he tries to run away, which he fails because, you know, he's a nerd, and he dies. The thing is that V2 is in greed because he's kind of greedy for the kill. In a way, V2 kind of went against his original protocol. His original protocol is supposed to protect humanity, you know, supposed to, you know, protect all humans, you know, remove all sense of resent towards your older machine or your older model. But he went against that. Instead of protecting humanity, he went straight up trying to kill you. And also, he's kind of focused on killing you, which is quite intriguing for me because, you know, writing wise, this man just wants to kill you. So I think the reason why he's putting greed was because, well, it's to showcase that he's there because, you know, he's greedy. He's greedy for that kill. I'm doing skips. I'm doing skips on that. Ooh. Anyhow, so I'm gonna distract it here. I think V2's boss fight is quite intriguing. I mean, Act 2 wise, because writing wise, he is probably greedy for that revenge. He lusts for blood, and that's what makes him kind of, you know, greedy. Haha, get the funny joke. Haha, I don't really care anymore, man. Writing wise, V2 Act 2 probably has the the writing that I actually quite like. You know, V2 is quite greedy for this revenge, but V1 is quite greedy for that single piece of arm. I'm not even joking. He's that greedy for that one piece of arm, which is quite hilarious because he already has his original arm. Why would he need another arm? I mean, I think V1 represents greed as well as he wants blood. Both of them are fighting for no reason. They're fighting in a war that doesn't exist anymore, man. And that's not really a lot of things to talk about writing wise, because ULTRAKILL doesn't have a lot of writing. A lot of people kind of glaze, but I think Violence probably has the best writing because it talks more about the endless needs of violence from humanity, which I'll cover more within violence layer. But I think that's it for V2's thing, because V2, you might be thinking, oh my god, you didn't cover this part or this part, you misinterpreted it. You gotta remember, I'm not a writer at the same time. Yeah, I'm gonna be an author soon, but I'm not gonna be that great of an author. But I think V2 was put in great because he's greedy for the kill, like any normal person. But also I didn't mention this, but it also kind of gives V1 and V2 some consciousness, because before then we thought they were just normal machines. They're not really. There were some subtle hints that the machines were sentient, like the street king is screaming before they die, and sword machines getting parts. But V2 is the first showcase of a machine that takes on revenge. I mean, if we talk about the sword machine kind of gets angry, so technically the sword machine probably was the first machine who gains sentience, but also this gave V1 sentience as well, and somewhat cool character that wants to murder everything. I mean, he wants a bland character in general. He's a force of nature. It's just that as a community, we just made him this funny goofball for some apparent reason. Anyhow, that's all for the video. Like and subscribe, nerds. I probably did a bad video. Anyhow, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. My left ear is completely destroyed. I can barely hear that anymore. Goodbye.